Okay. I'm here. 5 minutes late to my own stream. Whew. This is gonna suck. But we're here anyway. So, how's everybody doing? I have 4 children and 2 dogs to watch right now. How this is going to work, I have no idea. But I'm here. I've got one eye on everything. And no, I'm not a spider, so it's just one eye covering everything. How's everybody else doing, though? I gotta wait for the chat to catch up. These delays are awful. But I mean, it is what it is. Alright, so I can go ahead and change this. Tuxedo, you're alive? Where's my chat even at? I can't read this tiny chat. I have nothing ready. Unfortunately for you, Tux, alive is all we're looking for today. Because, I'm not going into this with any kind of plan. I don't have a whole lot of subjects to talk about. Today is kind of just free day. Do whatever you feel like. You know, you get it? Kinda? It's something like that. Okay, there we go. Everything is now at a size that I can actually read it. Your military days. Sit down, shut up, wait, while somebody else makes the decisions. I've never been in the military, but I am well familiar with that methodology. Alright, so, like I said, today is just going to be kind of a sit down, chat about things, discuss things, whatever you want to do. We can talk tabletop gaming, because I got stories and modules and all kinds of stuff there that we can discuss whenever we feel like it. I'm also going to be playing a game. It's not even in the Humble Bundle, it's just the game that I got for my birthday because I am currently obsessed with it. Oh, wait. Those kind of days. Okay, well, Tuxedo, I don't know if you are actually missing 3 limbs and half your skull, but if you are, I'm proud of you. You're doing very good for a man with half a brain. Okay. So, don't mind me. Like I said, I am currently obsessed with this game right now, so this is what we're doing while we're going to sit and talk. Trust me, there's nothing deep here. There's no story or anything. You're not missing a whole lot. I just can't stop building ships. I wonder who else is going to show up. Oh, I forgot to like my own stream. Don't forget to click the like button. I forgot to click the like button. I'll bring that back in. All right. Yeah, but a third of a brain is more than half a brain. 3 is bigger than 2. So you're doing fine. So I'm still kind of jazzed over yesterday's direct message that I did. That went really well. I was very pleased with that. It's the first time I've ever done one of those kind of things live, and I was happy about that. Not just the fact that I got to get everything out, and I hope I got everything right that I was talking about. I'm sure there's going to be people out there that are going to disagree, saying, you got this wrong. You didn't explain this right. You're totally misguided on this certain subject. It's like, okay, fine, whatever, but, you know, I know what I'm talking about. I may not be a Nobel laureate or anything, but I understand the basic concepts of things. But it was fun. Being able to do that live, being able to answer questions along the way, being able to go off on random tangents. I'm starting to love tangents. Although I hate trigonometry. So I hate tangents. But love them? I'm going to just drop that before I end up in an existential quandary that I can't deal with. Because I will. Maybe not. Oh, right. Forgot to turn the blueprints on. Anyway, yeah, yesterday was fun. Oh, what is this game? This is Cosmo Tears. This is a little indie game. And the concept of the game is really simple. You build starships, and then you fly starships. And you can mine asteroids, and you can fight pirates, and then you collect bounties on pirates, and you sell off the things that you mine to get money to build more starships. That's really all there is to it. It's such a simple concept, but as with many things, sometimes it's not about the complexity, it's just about the execution. And in this case, it's just about the execution. Because the execution is awesome. So right now I am designing a brand new missile ship. That's why I've got 3 missile launchers on the front of it. I'll explain more about the game as we go, if anyone's even interested, but this is my current obsession right now. I lost like an entire game an entire day to this game once I got it. Because it's like, I should be recording things right now. But I could go kill one more pirate. Okay, just one more pirate then. Just one more pirate. It is never just one more pirate. It's just one more, after the one more, after the one more, after the one more. And then it's midnight. So yeah. This is like the best, worst game I've ever had. This is almost as bad as RimWorld. Not quite, but it's close. Okay, these have actually got to move. So, what are we going to talk about today? I have no idea. I guess I should have come in with a plan. I kind of figured I'd just make stuff up as I went along, though. That seems to work out pretty well. Because I know last time we did this, we went off on several tangents talking about tabletop games and different mechanics. What was really funny is the fact that we went off on that whole thing about alignments. And I think next week's direct message is going to be on basically the same subject. So that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see. I've got a bridge. I need places to stuff people. There we go. It's okay, Tux. I'll forgive you this one time. Usually it's your job to make sure that I get distracted and go off on some wild tangent about subjects that no one cares about. But, I mean, not everybody can do everything. Let's see. And I think it's also just you and me, too. And I'm okay with that. It's very intimate. However, I am not going to just start singing just the two of us. It's not happening. Alright, so we'll fill that in there. Come down here. Alright, will do. I will dock your pay for this day. Okay? You have failed in your purpose, and we're just not going to be able to pay you today. Be lucky I'm not knocking you down a rank. Not that we have ranks here. Not yet. Someday. Someday I will actually have ranks. I can actually get memberships and things like that. Unfortunately, this is the most intimate we're going to get. Kitty Cat ASMR. I'm just joking. Nobody would want to listen to me all day, especially not as they're going to bed. That is one guaranteed way to get just like instant trauma. Okay, this ship needs a hyperdrive, and it needs some engines. And now it's got some engines, it needs more cargo bays. Because I love cargo bays. We've got airlocks. I can put some fire extinguishers up there because we'll need those. We need more doors. There we go. More doors. Which is different from more door. Totally separate, completely unrelated. That would be like a cat penguin thing in the crib. You're right, that would be an abomination. And I refuse to think about it any further. Now I want you to go sit in the corner and think about what you've done. No, I don't need thrusters that big. That should be good. Just small thrusters for retro. We'll put some small thrusters there for direction. We'll slap some more armor here. So that's good. And I think we're getting pretty close. Yes, we are getting pretty close to done with this one. That is enough weirdness. You made it weird. Congratulations. I'm going to go ahead and turn on mirroring to make this easier. And there we go. That's a pretty good looking ship. Couple of fire extinguishers. That's not bad. Alright, so we've got most of the materials we need. We're also going to be paying 45,000 credits for this, but that's okay. Make it so. Have I ever played any pre-made tabletop RPG modules? The answer to that is actually a resounding no. I have never, well, okay, I can't say that I've never played one. I played a couple of games of D&D when I was still in high school. And I don't know if those games were pre-made because two things. Number one, I had literally never played Dungeons & Dragons before, and so I had no idea what I was even doing. That's first off. Secondly, not only had I never played it, but the people that I was playing with honestly had no idea what they were doing. And so, was it a module? I don't even remember. I could not tell you to save my life. What I can tell you is that I personally have never GM'd a module. Every single game that I have ever run, I have written myself. And I have a few ways of doing that. Sometimes I'll do that just by, you know, thinking up a story that I want to run and then running that. However, other stories I have literally custom built off the backs of my players' characters. One of them I did, and I wish Blizz was here because she was in it. It was called The Nexus of Tangled Threads. And it was named so because I sat down and looked at every single character that my players had, because we were playing over the internet and they all had their own character sheets, but I had a copy of all their character sheets because I needed to have the information. And I sat down and I went through all of their backstories. Oh, Blizz is here. Hi, Blizz. You remember the Nexus of Tangled Threads? You died there. Anyway, I sat down with all of the characters and I said, how do we tie all of these stories together? And so I sat down and I started building the map, and I said, this character has this goal, and I put a point on the map for that person to actually, you know, achieve their goal. And then I put another point on the map so that they could achieve that goal. And just one point after another until everybody's purpose was on this map. And then I said, now let's weave them together like threads. And so I started making roadways for the characters, so that these characters would be going in this direction together, these two would be crossing here at a common purpose, and that meant that every single step the characters were taking was one step on their way to fulfilling their ultimate goal. And in that way, not only did we get a compelling story that everybody was now invested in, but it also included this deep lore, because I got to write in the lore for the characters. It helped me generate the map, the world, everything else. And of course, everyone was interested because it's like, hey, this is directly benefiting me. This is great. So that was a module that was literally just generated by me based on the characters. But I've done so many of them usually just by taking a single theme and then just running with it. I actually did have kind of a tutorial campaign that ran before that, and it was called Divinity Rising. That was like the first game that we all did together, and since I was the only one that really had any experience with it, I tried to make something simple that they could all learn on. We need some crew here. And so it was a very simple campaign. It was just get from point A to point B and deal with all the stuff in the middle. And so there was combat, and there was diplomacy, there was traps, and there was mysteries. They even got arrested once. That was fun. Alright, let's get all these people on here. But anyway, yeah. Almost every story that I've done, well, no, every story that I have ever done has just been my own creation. The only exception to that, and it's a very, very minor exception, very minor, is the Starjammer game that we did, where I made an actual faster than light module. So I have the game Faster Than Light. I've played the hell out of it. Faster Than Light is great. No, actually, Tux, it's not that I fell into it. It's that I was the only one who knew what they were doing. And then I loved it so much, I didn't really want to let anyone else do it. I did try to give opportunities for other people to take over, just because I did kind of want to be a player once upon a time. However, I found out, kind of the hard way, that you can't go backwards. Like, it's fun to play D&D. However, once you have seen how the sausage is made, once you've looked behind the curtain and done all of that... Ooh, hold on. I need this asteroid. Stop here. Once you bend the DM, it's really, really hard to go back and be a player again. If for no other reason than you know all the tricks. You know all the power builds, you know everything like that. It's hard to go back and say, well, I know how to beat pretty much everything because I'm the one that built all the traps. And so a little bit of the magic there is gone. Now, you can still have fun with the role-playing aspect of it. That is tremendous fun. But you really got to get into a good role-playing group for that. And that's hard to find. Even my group was only middlingly good at the whole role-playing aspect. Someday, I will get to DM again, and it will be just like a hard role-playing group. I hope. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, though, back to what I was saying about Starjammer. That was the only module that I can't really call my own just because it was technically inspired by a game. But that's also about where it ends, because after that, it was all my own custom work. So, like, in Faster Than Light, you have different races. And they would be the humans, obviously, and that's easy because humans exist in almost every game. But then you had NGs, and you had Mantises, you had Zoltans, you had Slugs, and almost all of those had some kind of... Ooh, there's an iron asteroid. They almost all had some kind of counterpart in Starjammer that just wasn't quite perfect. So if you're familiar with using racial archetypes in games like Pathfinder, I essentially built racial archetypes for each one of the FTL species. And so that was good. Then it was just a matter of taking the ships from FTL and finding a way to adapt them. So I wrote up an entire module on how to take these paper doll ships and adapt them into Starjammer stats. And once that was done, it was pretty much just a matter of plug and play. I did make a lot more minor alterations to things. Nothing too serious, like the different factions. Obviously in FTL, your enemies are the rebels. And then there were drones that you would come across, and sometimes hostile aliens, whatever. But I just kind of custom built the factions so that they would be in there. Nothing too deep. It's not like I was going through and detailing their economic strategies or anything. It's just like, here's these people, here's the tactics they use, here's the equipment they like to use. Faction. Done. I mean, FTL is great, but it's not exactly deep. So I didn't need to get too complicated. Oh. I still have, Oh, no, wait, that is the missile place. Here it is. Okay, I don't have a missile launcher over here anymore. It's just the shells, right? Yeah, just the shells right there. But the FTL module is about the only one that I can't claim total credit for. Everything else, that was all me. I developed my own system for doing maps. I developed my own system for doing... event generators, because I learned early on that you can sit down and you can do a very detailed storyline, but what's really important is the ability to adapt on the fly. Every DM knows that you have to be able to adapt, so I actually kind of specialized in making generators so that within 5 minutes I could create almost anything. The idea was that whatever my players wanted to do, they could do it. If I gave them a fork in the road and I expected them to go straight, but they opted to go left, I can tell them what is left in detail within 5 minutes. And it worked phenomenally. I can generate settlements, I can generate roadways. I'm very, very proud of my settlement generator. I could create pretty much unique cities anywhere. They would all be kind of randomized, but, you know, once you've got it random, you can always de-randomize things by just picking what you want to plug in. So I could roll up a random city somewhere and then say, okay, however, this city is in the far north of this continent, so it's a cold and harsh environment. So I just need to tweak a couple of these things to make sure that the culture fits the region, and I've still got a city. It was great. The problem is, I can't show you because it's not on this computer. I'm not sure if I could get it over to this computer. I probably could. I could work on that. Actually, why not? What the hell? Settings. Gameplay. Is there a way to, like, direct control, multiplayer? Wait, this comes in multiplayer? I didn't know that. Ooh, that could be fun. Aim assist, okay. Automatically gather resources, break formation to attack, recall crew. Graphics. Isn't there like a way to make sure this doesn't pause? Like if I was to tab out? Show alerts. Ah, here we go. Pause when window loses focus. There we go. Apply. Okay. Now, let me see if I can pull this across PCs. We're doing it live! Well, Tux, if you are interested in building your own system, that's a little bit different than what I've done. I've taken a current system and adapted it. Building something from the ground up, I've never actually done that. Modules are a lot easier than just building the entire thing from scratch. However, I will say this. There is absolutely no shame in taking a game that already works and using that as kind of a template. I mean, if you look at all the different fantasy games out there, and you look at, like, the weapons they have, whether it's Dungeons & Dragons, whether it's Pathfinder, whether it's Shadowrun, or whatever else, a short sword usually does either 1d4 or 1d6 damage. That's it. Okay? That's all it does. Ooh, there's a pirate up here. Go get him! And there's only so much that you can really change because there's always going to be similarities. Wait, is he getting away? Don't let him get away. He's getting away. Whatever. Chase him down. We'll catch up to him eventually. Maybe. No, we're not. He's going too fast. Alright, just head to the station. So yeah, don't punish yourself too much if, like, your own tabletop system is not, like, entirely unique, something that the world has never ever seen before. Somebody somewhere is going to have to see something like it. And if you do try to make something that is just completely unique and absolutely revolutionary to everything, you also run the risk of people finding it too different and too alienating to try it in the first place. These things happen. And I mean, I can speak from experience. There's things that I've looked at that are, like, so bizarre and out there. It's like, Yeah, I'm sure this game might be great, but I don't want to play it. Okay, so files, documents. How about my own documents? Can I pull this from across the network? I don't know, but we're gonna try. Let's see. Go to C, new volume, new volume. Is my drive still on? Yeah, my archive was still on. Okay, network. Alright, so there's a computer, there's a computer. No, 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 no. I did not expect that I would have to be accessing my own home network for this stream, so we'll see how this works. Actually, now that I think about it, do I have any of these files local? I might. Files. Pathfinder. Okay. Long-term goal is to make an open source database kind of like D&D Beyond, except you won't have to pay for content like spells and weapons. Players can make and group content way long-term though. That's noble. That's good. That's kind of what I use right now, actually. Like, if I was going to start up another Pathfinder game, if you ever wanted to play Pathfinder, then this is the site for you. Perfect. This is the D20 PFSRD. This contains literally everything that you need to play Pathfinder. It is one of the most wonderful sites in the world. If you ever wanted to play, it's in here. You want races? They got races. You want classes? They got classes. They have so many classes, my players struggled to comprehend them. It was literally a chore every time we made a new class to say, okay, what do you want to play? It's like, I kind of want to play this, but I also kind of want to play this. Believe me, I did my fair share of custom classes. Especially since they've got, you know, your regular classes, Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, all these that you normally know from, you know, Dungeons and Dragons. Plus, you got all your base classes, which are like their own unique ones. Then there's alternates, and then hybrids. Unchained were not allowed. Then there's the occults and prestige classes. It was wonderful. This was great. And similar to this, there is the Starjammer SRD, which is less good. However, still more than enough for you to do everything you wanted to do. And that was pretty cool. Honestly, this is the one that I desperately want to get back into. All right. Why did my phone do a thing? That's why my phone did a thing. Nothing important. All right. So, where is... I can't read anything on here. It's all too tiny. Where are my notes for Divinity Falling? Are they in here? They should be in here. Wasn't it? Oh, I could show this off. This would be fun. So, while I'm still looking for my other notes, I can show this. I need to make a new source for this. This will be... not browser. No, 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 no. I guess just window. Ah, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So, I mean, this was the sheet that I made for running my games. And I said, you know, what is all of the information that I need to play? And I figured I don't really need to have their skills. I don't need to know every single number on their sheets. I just need to know basically their stats, and I needed to know what feats they had so I could say either yes or no. And so this is what I came up with. And it worked pretty well. All in all, good setup. And then I went ahead and did an auxiliary page for things like spells, languages, things of that nature. And the reliquary for every single dead character. Which was kind of fun because you got to see where I started off and how I ended up. Because, like, before, this is like the only stats I actually kept track of. Just their ability scores and their hit points. And then over time, it's like, nope, I actually need to know what feats they have. Actually, I need to know a lot of other things too. And so it just kind of, it grew over time. But it was a wonderful setup. And it is a lot of dead characters. Well, some dead, some retired. Retired characters always had the option of coming back. That's fun though. Let's see. Make that that. And there we go. Okay. Now, where was the main event, though? Not there, not there. Was it here? I don't think it was. No, it's not. That's not it. I have too many files. Not that one either. Damn it, where was it? Not this one either. See, this is fascinating content right here. This is what everyone's here for. Actually, I'm not even going to do that because everybody knew what they were getting into. Where do we send it? No one's getting sacrificed yet. Trust me, though. I'm keeping track of who's interested in a tabletop game. Okay? I'm keeping track. When the time comes, we'll be able to do that. Okay, this is actually starting to upset me a little bit. Where the hell are the notes for Divinity Falling? Did it not make it in there? Let's see. C, D, D. Oh, I guess it didn't. Okay, that's why. It never made it into the into the file. Gotcha. Okay. So, here's where things are going to get kind of fun. This is going to be really fun, actually. So, the very first game that we ever did was called Divinity Rising. And I just mentioned this one earlier, but just as a quick recap, it was very simple. It was just like the tutorial campaign. The idea was, there was a duke, he had a daughter, and at her coming of adulthood, there was a party. The party was attacked by barbarians. They were trying to kill her. The idea was, get her out of there, take her all the way across this this map to the major city over there, and that's it. You win. It was very simple. It was just an escort mission. And through there, we went through progressively bigger towns. We dealt with different issues. It was fun. Now, we did many, many, many other campaigns. However, one thing that people kept coming back to is they said, we want to go back and do it again. Which is not something that I expected. But they said, we want to go do it again. I said, okay. We'll go back and do it again. But this time you have to be the bad guys. So, the first time, they had to escort her. This time, they had to kill her. And I got to control all of their previous characters to save her. So this was literally, I got the chance to fight against them directly. And that's important because this is all of their old characters that I got to remake. This is all the characters that they started off with. It was Grey Zhao, Althea Al-Corin, who was the daughter, Lucian Woodwander, Crumpsh Bloodhands, Vizira the Exiled, Tazar, still can't pronounce that, and then just Celia, who didn't get a last name. We had a sorcerer, basically an aristocrat, a druid, a cleric, a chaotic, well, was he chaotic evil? He was an evil cleric, I know that much. A drow paladin, an elven ranger, because boring, and a half-elf rogue, who was slightly insane. So that was the fun part there. And I called them the Iron Wings because that was the name they chose. They were the Iron Wings. And so I've got all of their stats here. And then I've got all of their spells and their skills here. By the way, opposite colors being class skills. So Gray's color is red, but all the greens, that's class skills. Yes, slightly insane. And growing more so. So there was skills and more spell books. Yeah, this was the daily spells, and down here was the spell book with everything that they could cast on a regular basis. So that was fun. This actually was just for combat. This literally showed what abilities they had in combat, and not just that, but down here where it says rotation, this was the actual order in which they were going to use these abilities. I was writing the AI script for them, essentially. So, opening moves for them, Cover means just move to cover. One turn, move to cover. And then an action, and then it's just by turn. So for Gray, it would be find cover, cast mage armor. Opportunities are whenever they presented, and then rotation is just whenever it happened. So, like for Althea, being an aristocrat, she didn't have a whole lot. She did have a sword and shield, because that's what she picked up eventually. Actually, it was Vizira that was teaching her during Divinity Rising. So I included that in here. But Lucian, he has all these spells. His first thing was find cover and then cast Entangle, because Entangle sucks. On opportunities, he would Frostbite if he got hit. If he was in melee, he would Frostbite and then take a step. If somebody used a firearm against him, like a gun, because there was a gunslinger in the party, if they were within 30 feet, use Damp Powder. If there was an enemy that was just less than 30 feet, any enemy, Charm Person on them. And if they were wearing metal armor, Chill Metal. But otherwise, the rotation was just find cover, use Obscuring Mist, stay in cover, use Fog Cloud, use cover, use Frostfall, and just, while you're in cover, keep flaring. That was it. And these rotations were just, they were great. They were excellent. I didn't really get to use them a whole lot, but they worked. It took all the thinking out of the game for me because I already knew what they were going to do. And because there was no decision making that had to be made at that moment, it just meant look at the character, see the action, roll the dice, determine the outcome. Every time. Boom, 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 boom. One character after another. Because if you've ever played a tabletop game, you know that combat takes the longest. Blizz is out of here. Bye, Blizz! Don't forget, if you haven't already, go subscribe to Blizz's channel. She's got good stuff on there, too. I gotta check my back door real quick. That didn't come out right. Okay. So, yeah, it was definitely smoother play. Everything was just automatically done for you. And that was great. I had a thing for NPCs, didn't have a whole lot of them, but this is where I could keep track of every single NPC. Just the basic stuff, because, I didn't really need I didn't need detailed stats on them, okay? I didn't need to have ability scores for them. I didn't need to have a lot. It was just real simple. Here's a character. Now, they still had hit points. They still had an armor class. They still had saves. So if you wanted to kill the character, technically you could. But this was just basically, here it is. If you need to use it, it's there. And I could just continue these rows down the line. And if I ever needed to reference one in the future, done. It was that easy. Now, here's one that I'm really proud of. My cities. So if you ever go to... let's see. Here we go. Let me bring this back up. If you come back to the SRD here for Pathfinder, somewhere in here... I don't actually know where it is now. Oh, here it is. Settlements. They give you all kinds of big rules for settlements. Seriously, this is a long page. But it's a very good page, because it does tell you pretty much everything you need to know about making a settlement. I turned it into a generator. And this is how it looks when it gets done. So, we have everything we need here. We have a town. We have a name. We have a rough population. We have an alignment. Towns have alignments. Okay? Don't ever think that they don't. Just because it is filled with 18,000 people does not mean that it will not have a general overall alignment. And that alignment will almost invariably be the same alignment as whatever the dominant faith is, which in this case is a REIT. The type of government it is, how much corruption, crime, economy, how strong the law is, how or what lore they have, how intertwined the society is, all of these have different impacts. Every town gets a trait, and the trait summary is right here. So in this case, Corin was decadent. That meant that it had a plus 10 danger. Basically, it's a higher percentage chance that while you're wandering around town, you get mugged, or something else bad happens. However, it also meant that the cash limit that you could spend was way up. 25% more. So if you were a rich adventuring party, you could do some serious shopping in Corin. Weapons and armor. So you ever had your party walk into a town and say, I want to buy this, I want to buy this, I want to buy this, I want magic things, I want this really exotic foreign weapon, I want to get a katana. Give me a katana. Answer me this. Why are you looking for a katana in the middle of the Shire? And you know, when you phrase it that way, most of your players get really quiet. So I came up with a system here, and I said, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. It's really simple. I got in my fingers right here a 6-sided dice. Here's what you do. There's 3 categories of weapons. Simple, martial, and exotic. So you take your D6 and you roll it. And if it's 1 through 3, it's simple. 4 and 5, it's martial. And if you roll a 6, congratulations, you have found a place that has exotic weapons. It's weighted in distribution for what should be more prevalent. And actually, I did not know that Bilbo Baggins was the last samurai. No, I did not know that. So I did that with weapons, and I did that also with armor. Light armor, like leathers, are going to be more common than medium armor. And medium armor is going to be a hell of a lot more common than heavy plate armor. So there you go. And again, same thing. 1 through 3, light armor. 4 and 5, medium armor. You roll a 6, heavy armor. It's weighted by distribution. I did the same thing for magic. The arcane level and divine level. I wrote up a chart to roll dice. Had to be virtual dice because I don't think there's like a 97-sided dice. But I would just roll it, and of course, the chance of finding level 9 magic, basically impossible. The chance of finding nothing but level 0 magic, great. You can find cantrips everywhere. You literally cannot walk into a town and find, like, nobody who cannot at least cast a cantrip. He had to escort Frodo and destroy the ring, otherwise he would have to commit Sudoku. Except Bilbo didn't do that. That was Samwise that did that. Samwise had to be the last samurai then. Actually, you know what? When you say it out loud like that, it makes sense. So yeah, once I figured out what weapons and armor and magic they had, the rest of this was just kind of easy. Edicts. The edicts are very simple. They're based off of the government and the faith. Whatever the faith determines are their virtues, that's basically the edicts for the town. So in this case, we've got a REIT, and I don't remember off the top of my head who a REIT is. Let's see. Arit, according to the PFSRD, the goddess of virtue and paladins, lawful good. The domains are law, good, protection, and war. Let's see. She represents martial valor necessary to make peace a reality. As such, she is the goddess of paladins, often depicted as a dark-tressed maiden warrior in shining mail, with an upraised, often blood-stained sword. She is noble and single-minded of purpose. The tenets of her worship include honor, truth, and courage. A great order of paladins known as the Justicars are sworn to her service, and she expects self-sacrifice, humility, charity, as well as an unswerving loyalty. Her standards are extreme and quickly turns her back on any who fail to live up to them. So, when I made the city, what did we get? We got the edicts of honor, truth, and courage. Basically, what that means is that when you walk in and you see the big wooden board that has carved in the rules, basically, no blasphemy in the town at all. Okay? You don't blaspheme the temple. You don't blaspheme the leaders. Truth? Lying is a punishable offense. If you lie, you can be put in irons and locked away. And given that, we're not talking about a court system here, you could be locked away for as long as they feel you need to be. And courage. This town has a civil service. That means that if you're in town and the town is attacked and they tell you to grab a sword and go, you go. Because if you fail to, cowardice is punishable. And just like that, you've got the basis for a town. Blasphemy is punishable. Falsehoods are punishable. Cowardice is punishable. Nail that or carve that into a board, nail it to a tree at every single town entrance. And there you go. You now have a town with unique laws. As for the inns, because players always need to find an inn, you will automatically put one inn at every entrance. It's that simple. One inn at every entrance. And then just give them a name. And also, just like before, inns come in 3 qualities: poor, common, and good. Roll 1d6. If it's a 1 through 3, they're poor. 4 and 5, they're common. 6, they're good. Then just give them some random names. In this case, we've got the French Carrot Inn, the Poor Bear, and the Minor Planet. No. You can't let them find out the hard way. Okay? You can't do that. For 2 reasons. The first of which is, that's not fair. Okay? It's not fair and you know it. The second reason, however, is that this is how it was done. You would post whatever rules you needed followed somewhere near the edge of town so that people would be aware of them. It generally wasn't your objective to have troublemakers in there because, well, this is before we had like a for-profit system for arrests. Generally speaking, if you captured somebody, you were either going to detain them, try them, or execute them. And if there's no profit involved in this, what are you doing? You're just making work for whatever guards or sheriffs or whatever is in your town. Now, who is going to go looking for extra work? Nobody's going to go looking for extra work. Nobody wants to do more work than they have to. That's true now. And guess what? It's also true in your fantasy world. Nobody wants to do extra work. So you would post your edicts at every entrance so that anybody walking in can see it plain as day. And then, if they break them, have no mercy. Now you don't have to have any mercy if they do break them, because you can simply say, I didn't spring this on you. This wasn't a surprise. You knew what you were walking into. And you did it anyway. No, we're not going to get on that tangent. Save that for a live lecture. But yeah. Make sure that your rules are clear and upfront. And in this case, the reason why it's colored this way and fonted this way is because I would literally just select this, copy it, and then paste it into the Discord we were playing in. Because with this color and that font, it looks a little bit like carved letters. And so I would just say, here you go. Done. And then, of course, down here at the end, this is not a live lecture, actually. This is just me having fun, okay? We're talking tabletop stuff today. This is only a live lecture if it turns out to be profitable in some way. Did I mention I have a Patreon? Anyway, down here at the bottom, notable NPCs and locations. Here's one of the worst things. The worst things as a GM, okay? You go to a town, all right? And for whatever reason, you meet this one random-ass NPC. Maybe it's the girl who runs the flower cart, okay? But your PCs become absolutely enamored with her, okay? The bard tries to charm her. The paladin swears an oath to protect her. The rogue doesn't pick her pockets. All right? Your party falls in love with the flower girl in random ass town whatever. That's important to know. So you come over here and you say, random ass flower girl named Lucy. And now, the next time they come through there, you can come back to your notes and say, oh yeah, there's a flower girl. I wonder what happened to her. Oh, side quest. She's been kidnapped by bandits. This is the place where you can keep all of your notes. And I mean, if you really want to, I have no problem sharing this in the Discord so that you can copy it down into your own Excel spreadsheet or spreadsheet, whatever you want to do. This is just a great format for keeping track of this. And I have so many towns. So, I mean, since I already had the map here and I already knew where they were going, I was able to generate all of the towns. Okay. I could understand a lawful town posting such rules, or at least getting a town guard to give newbies the talk. A chaotic town would probably be content with letting new people off with a warning. You're not wrong about that, and if you wanted to do that as the DM, that's your call. But again, I want to reiterate, even in a chaotic town, which is going to be stronger? Chaos or lazy? Because the chaos will make more work for whoever's in charge of the guards. Now, you might be right. Maybe the lazy does overrule the chaos. And so they don't post it, and they've ended up being their own worst enemy because now the jails are full. The jails are full of people who keep breaking the rules. And it just never occurs to them that maybe if I just posted the rules, people would stop breaking them. So, I mean, that can be an interesting little property of your town. Why not? This is where you can really just kind of let your creative mind go. But I did so many of these cities just so I could have everything done. The Black City is an actual racist city. This is one where I custom built it. Nothing here was random. So it is a racial enclave. They love humans and they tolerate elves, halflings, and dwarves, but everyone else either arrested or killed on sight. Which means that stealth becomes a really big thing. When they went through there the first time, the humans, elves, halflings, and dwarves were able to go in. The orcs had to go around. Actually, the orcs and the drow had to stay outside and walk around the outside of the city. Which, by the way, that actually got one of the orcs killed because when one of the guards caught him, rather than run away, he just said, "Nah, I'm going to fight the guards." He lost. So yeah, here's all of our cities, and I went all the way to the end, so... Did I go all the way to the end? No, yeah, I did go all the way in, because here's Urak, and here's some of the other cities that were kind of along the side. Now, how did I do it? This is how I did it. This is my entire city generator. And it doesn't look like much, but it's so much more impressive than how it looks. So for the basic stats, right there. Name, okay? Population, 2d10 times 100. That means that your minimum is going to be 200 people, which is like a little hamlet. Your maximum is like 10,000, or no, 20,000, which is a really big town. Especially when you're talking like fantasy medieval town. I mean, I grew up in a town of about 30,000, and it's a pretty big town. Now, I've lived in towns or cities that had millions, but I was never really in the city. I was on the outskirts of it. I could not handle living that close and that many people. The alignment is really simple. It's just 1d9. So... obviously, you got lawful good, neutral... Well, actually, it's right here. Lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good. So your goods, your neutrals, your evils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There you go. Once you've got the alignment to the place, you just need a faith. And so I went through and broke down all of the deities, at least on the Pathfinder SRD, so that then you just roll a dice and see what comes up. So in this case, I happen to have roll 20 right here. I'll just roll 1d9. I got a 1, so that means it's lawful good. That means I get to roll 1d8. That's a 3, which means that this is a lawful good town that worships Austri. I have no idea who Austri is, but that's not the point. The point is, now we have an alignment, we have our deity, which means that we also have our edicts for the town. We can roll the government. Your governments are right here. It's just a 1d10. As far as traits are right here, and there's a lot of them. So, yeah, it's a 1d94. You got to use virtual dice for that. But that gives you a lot of different options, and all of them are detailed on the SRD. I just made the generator for it. Choose a magic type for your town. I mean, you probably have both of them, but sometimes, or usually one is better than the other. Sometimes you have both. And then a level. So obviously level 9, you have to roll a 1, but it goes all the way up, getting more probable as time goes on. 46 through 55 is level 0. Usually they fall somewhere like the 0 to 4 range. And I already explained how to do weapons, armor. I did this too. Wealth is just 2d10 times 100. Again, that's essentially how much money the town has, not every store. So literally, if you come in with some kind of magical item that's worth just hundreds of thousands of gold, the town's going to say, we can't give you that, because they literally can't. But yeah, that's the generator. And with this, I can generate an entire town in less than 5 minutes. If my players go wandering off into the forest, then I can say you stumble upon a town in the middle of nowhere. It's that easy. Your view on chaos, or Tux says, my view on chaos versus law in terms of laws. Chaos is more likely to both adopt new laws and choose not to enforce old laws. Lawful tends to be more traditional. They may adopt a new law, but after others prove it works. You are right about that. However, you're making more work for yourself. We're talking about running the game here. You're not wrong. And maybe you can integrate that into the story somehow, but in either case, whether it's chaos adopting a new law or a lawful town forgetting about an old and defunct law, whatever's in the past doesn't really matter to your players right now unless you're making it somehow relevant to the plot. And if you're making it relevant to the plot, then, great. More power to you. But don't make more work for yourself than you have to. That's kind of the entire point here. Okay. Then there's events. I've been doing these forever. This is for traveling. So in here, I keep track of everything that happens when they're traveling. And again, it's just a generator. So what happens is, I come through here and I can roll dice. If I'm generating like a week's worth of travel, well, actually several weeks worth of travel, instead of rolling each one independently, I'll go to like random.org and just generate a sequence of numbers 1 through 16 and then just paste it in here. But if I need to generate one event, I can do that as well. And so I can just say, well, roll 1d16. I'll do it on roll 20. Because obviously you can't really get a 1 if you have to roll 2d8s. I'll find out what happened and then I just reference whatever it is. So let's say that I rolled a 1. That's an encounter, okay? First off, number 1, is the encounter neutral or hostile? Okay? If it's a neutral encounter, that's great. Who am I encountering? So it's going to be 1d12. Hold on, I've got a d12 here. Let me grab my dice here real quick. All right, there's my dice. I haven't got to play with dice in so long. This is fun. I'm having fun. All right, d12. That's a 4. So, we're running into halflings. And by the way, I can just roll some random stats, and I have all of my adjustments right here. So I don't need to go through and look everything up. I just know that I roll stats, And then for halflings, give them 1 AC, 2 dexterity, 2 charisma, 2 less strength. Done. Now that I've got that, I get to roll 1d6. That's a 6. I move on to 100 encounters. So, I now know that I've run into halflings. If we reference the 100 encounters, I pulled this off of the internet. It was too handy not to. So if I roll 1d100, it's 60. Where's 60? Formerly brilliant wizard now pesters the party with incoherent rants of a man driven mad by a botched invisibility spell. Okay. So we've got a rambling wizard driven mad by a botched invisibility spell. So, now that we know that we've got that, plus we know that it's halflings, it's going to be the party runs into a halfling wizard who is raving that he is surrounded by other halflings that only he can see. He has invisible friends, and maybe they're tormenting him. We just did that. That took like less than a minute. And we just got one encounter. Done. Write it up, throw it in the game. Let the players deal with it. We've also got weather events. This is good just to throw in a little variety to your game because sometimes it rains. There you go. And it's good to make sure that you change the weather for every now and then. Same thing, I also have over here the date and season. So over here, 12 months in a year. Month 11 through 1 is winter, 2 through 4 is spring, 5 through 7 is summer, 8 through 10 is autumn, and the climate will change appropriately depending on the time of year. And so every day, you just add another day. Every month can have 30 months and make it, or 30 days, make it real easy. There you go. Settlements. Basically, services for your party. So every town should have these. These should be present in every single town. For the most part. I mean, you're not going to find a farm in town, but whatever. However, the ability to find these things outside of town is still possible. It's rare, but it's possible. So, like up here, I have my party who ran into a tiefling distillery. A whole bunch of fiendish folks who are making alcohol. Why not? But there's also things like a blacksmith, a library, gambler's lodge, ruins of a mansion for them to explore. It's fun. Traps and hazards that might be left along the road, either by raiders actively trying to take your party, or perhaps it's something that was set up by raiders or bandits and then forgotten about. There's also other things like they fail to find food or water, which means that they're going to have to either dip into their supplies or go without. Maybe they come across a strong storm. Maybe there's a forest fire they have to negotiate. Maybe a wild magic zone. So the mage wakes up in the morning, goes to cast mage armor on himself, and sprouts tulips from his fingertips. And then has to wonder why. Poisoned earth, which forces people to do fortitude saves as they walk through it. Poisoned plants. So if they do take the food, they have to do a poison or a fortitude save. Here's different forms of weather. And by doing this, I can generate an entire month's worth of events if I need to. And then, like I said, my generators were always my strongest point. Here is my town generator. So to make a town, it's actually super easy. All you got to do is, Tuck says, I'd say a town needs a main source of income, less so a farm. Unless you're trying to be realistic, to medieval times, I feel like D&D is more medieval inspired. You're not wrong. A city center of some kind needs to have more income than just farms. But what is that income? Every town is going to have a blacksmith. Every town is going to have an apothecary of some kind. Every town is going to have people that are going to be doing whatever they need to survive. In general, most of your population are going to be laborers. They're going to be the common folk that your party don't really care about in the first place. Except for the one time they come across the flower girl and become absolutely enamored with her. I mean, I can't help that. Other than that, if you want your town to have like a singular main source of income, that wouldn't go here. You'd come back to cities. And when you come back to trait, you would put that here in the traits and say like this city deals almost exclusively in arms. All right? Like blacksmiths are on every corner. All they do is hammer out swords, axes, and hammers every day, all day. Maybe that leaves them with a massive standing army. Maybe they're a military might, but that would come over here into the cities so that your players would be able to know that walking in. And if you wanted to do that, you can absolutely do that. You set your trait, then find yourself a deity that works with that. Once you've got a deity that is either like blacksmith inspired or army inspired or something like that, you will automatically get your alignment. And then you can go ahead and just pick you can just pick whatever government you want. Maybe it's a militaristic dictatorship. JP says the next town deals in legs. Like what kind of legs? Frog legs? I don't want to think about it too much. Tuck says getting a bit cyberpunk now. That's an option. I mean, we can do that in Shadowrun. But yeah, that's where I made the town map generator. The way that I figured my towns, so I made my town maps. Oh, I said a town that deals in arms, so he's got a town that deals in legs. Okay, I get it. Boo! Your jokes are terrible. All right. Anyway, where was I? That's right. I was talking about making the town. So, I made town maps for all of my players. I wonder if I have one handy. Because I don't have an example ready. If I go to Roll20, it's all the starships that I was building. Let's see, battle maps, Black City. Wait, here we go. Renfall? Okay, here we go. I've got a town. Now, believe me, it's not much. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading it. Okay, so when we came back and we look at cities, we're going to look at Renfall. So Renfall is a population of 1,200. It's a neutral evil town. It's militaristic. It does have mythic weapons in it, though, so that's nice. It's got a mythic sanctum. It's got 3 inns in it. It's got simple weapons. It's got light armor. Now, mythic things and light weapons, I guess they have just like the world's most powerful staff. I don't know. But here's all the stats that I need for it. However, let's see, properties, yes. Now, here's the actual map. Like I said, it doesn't look like much, but it does show you everything you need to know. And I can go ahead and move these people out of the way. So here's our town. We have a wall around the town. In this case, it's a stone wall. You can tell because it's gray. There's 3 entrances. There is an inn at every single entrance. So they have choices. And here is everything that we needed. So they can travel wherever they want to. And we can measure Tuck says the Assassin's Guild will get you his head. Those do require special blacksmiths, though. Okay, so once they're in town, I found the easiest way to do this is to measure in time. Since the distances are, debatable. There's always going to be roads, there's always going to be alleyways and things that people can do that are going to get them from point A to point B. But since you just keep track of time, if they all stop at the inn and all leave from the inn, one of them can say, I need to get some medicine. I'm going to the apothecary. That'll take you an hour and 40 minutes to get there. Yes, the psychotic ant. I used a random name generator, can you tell? Another person says, I'm going to go to the blacksmith. That's also an hour and 40 minutes. They can basically travel together. This person says they want to go to the market. That's 80 minutes. This person wants to pick up more arrows. That's the Fletcher. That's also 100 minutes. And so, by doing it this way, you can have all the people go to wherever they want to be, and now you got your turn order. Whoever gets to their point first gets to act first. And you can just keep track of who goes first and who got to their destination first. And what I went through and did is I even get bonuses for going to places. So if we come back to the town map, it shows things that you get for going here. Primary function is basically what you're going there to buy. So anything in the category of equipment, you can get it there. So the candle maker will sell you all the illuminations if you want to buy candles, torches, lamps, whatever. A forester will have everything for hunting and fishing and outdoor gear. However, more importantly are the secondary bonuses. So let's say that you are a ranger, okay, and you want to know more about the local area. You can visit the forester, and the next time you do a check, I'll give you a bonus on knowledge nature. Go to the library, get bonuses on engineering, history, and nobility. Go to the arcane place. Get bonuses on arcane, knowledge arcana and knowledge planes. Then there's the black market, which you'll only find in chaotic towns. You gotta find it. However, if you can find it, you can get torture implements there. Ports, only on water. That's obvious. You're not going to find a boat in the middle of the mountains. Not as much as my players asked, but they never got a boat in the middle of the mountains. But here, all it is a generator. Make sure that you throw one of these somewhere in your map, and then let your players go nuts. Let them investigate everything if they want to. Because it's always about the players. No, I did not include a brothel. I'll count it as part of the black market. A lawful city would not have a brothel. It would have courtesans. They're classier. That's because you went to the wrong brothel. However, if you got crabs, it's your fault for not training them up to be familiars. You never know. Okay, so yeah, that's my entire town generator. It's a lot, but once you start using it, it saves you so much time. It's kind of ridiculous. It's basically an investment for the future, and I would recommend it for anyone who is going to run their own game. Take the time to, like, do this. Now, see, my towns have my towns have an apothecary. Also, hi, Jeff. Good to have you. You've missed, like, all the fun stuff. It's okay. We're not done with the fun stuff, though. But yeah, if I ever get a game going, I'll probably reuse this if it's a fantasy game. If it's not a fantasy game, then probably not. I mean, I have a Starjammer one too. Not sure where it is. But I can look for it. Let's see. Is that going to be back in there? Wait, does it have its own folder? Starjammer... No, I don't think it has its own folder. Is it in any folder? No, it actually might be right here. Yep, it's right here. Now, Starjammer plays a little bit differently to Pathfinder. So I had to make up a custom template for all of this. But it's still the same thing. I've got NPCs here with everything that they needed to have. There's actually more differences in that, but you're close. There's a lot of similarities to how it's done. Same mechanics, just different results. Like when it comes to generating NPCs, things like hit points are still the same, but they also have 2 armor classes, one for energy and one for kinetics. The saves are still the same. The attacks are still the same. And yes, quite possibly literal arms and legs. They can do that. Still uses the same ability scores, so strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Sizes are the same, initiatives are the same, perception, all that's still the same. So, lots of similarities. For the NPCs, at least. Player characters are a little bit more complicated. And hold on a second, I hear noisy children, so I'll be right back. Okay, children dealt with. Yes, I glued them to the wall. Alright. Now see, if I ever got my camera working, I could probably do something about that. The downside to that is if I ever got the camera working, you'd have to see me. And there's not enough therapy in the world for that. So, yeah, that's a bittersweet problem. Anyway, where were we? Oh, that's right, I was discussing Starjammer. Now, Starjammer is interesting. I did a lot of custom work for this. And I've got this page here for NPCs. I also have this one here for NPC starships. Most of these are enemies. So everything that we need. We've got crew skills, passengers if they have anything, all the stats for the ships. I'm not going to go into all the stats. It's not important. If you want to go through the full process of making a ship sometime, just say so, and we can go ahead and build a ship. But here's all the stats for ships that I can use in the actual game. Do the backlit silhouette thing. I mean, I could do that. That would be slightly less traumatizing. This is even a spot for ships that my players could buy, so that if they ever went to like a shipyard, I could say, here's some options if you wanted to trade in. We'll just calculate the value of your ship, calculate the value of this one, and if you can afford it, you can afford it. Oh, that was actually not somebody with an Indian accent that wants to buy my house. That was actually my sister hopefully telling me that she's going to be picking up the children. In which case, I don't need to talk to her. I just need you to come and get the children. Just do it. Please, take them somewhere else. All right. Now, this lovely little packet of rainbows is my starship generator. I told you I love generators. Alright, so everything is color-coded for my convenience. Now, when generating a random encounter, it's important to keep things balanced. My players had a medium ship, so in this case, the most that they would ever fight would be a medium ship. And an even fight in Starjammer is one that you have an equal chance to lose as well as win, so that would be particularly challenging. The LGBT. Yeah, it basically is, except I just find the colors easier to work with. My vision's not great. I do everything I can. But this has everything we need. And I took every single element in the starship page and then spaced it out so that other starships could use it. So, for example, crews on tiny ships. Tiny ships are racing ships, interceptors, or fighters. They only carry one person except for fighters. Fighters have a second seat. So it can only carry up to 2 people. Their skills, the thrusters that they get, which can move really super fast. However, fighters and things like that don't get armor and they don't get shields. And that's not because they necessarily can't have them. I just didn't use them on my ships. I saved that stuff for bigger ships. However, it's got everything you need here. So defensive countermeasures, the computer, because it has to have one, sensors, what kind of power core it has, because even though the rules don't exist in Starjammer, my players really wanted to salvage equipment from enemy ships. So I had to generate every single part of the ship so that they could salvage it if they wanted it. And they did. And it went really well, actually. They really enjoyed building up their ship because I gave them a piece of garbage to start off with. And they would just salvage this one from this pirate, this one from a raider, this one from androids that just hate humans. Yeah, and they just added to it. It was the kit bash of ships. Similar to Pathfinder, I've also got an event generator. This one's a little bit smaller, but we've got space encounters, space hazards, space stations, planets, and then just, empty space. And so we can go through and roll the dice and see where everything lands up. And the fun thing was this gave you a lot of unique things. This was the... It is... Yes, Tux, you're right. This is kind of a space combat staple, and believe it or not, Starjammer does not have rules for it. At least none that I could find. I mean, I joke that Starjammer is the best half a game I've ever played, because it really feels like half a game sometimes. It's perfect as long as you play within its rules. But the minute that you try to stray outside those rules, like, there's nothing. It's kind of like, what was it I was trying to do? I was trying to... My players wanted to buy something. I don't remember what it was. And the reason I had such a hard time with it is because Starjammer has credits. And that's your currency, which is fine. I mean, credits work. It's kind of generic, but whatever. The only rule of salvage is finders keepers. Actually, I made more rules than that. Finders keepers was just the first rule. But anyway, I had players who wanted to get something. I forget what it was. And so I had to figure out how much are credits worth? And how much did things weigh? Because in Starjammer, they don't use pounds. They use bulk. And it really kind of confused me for a long time at first before I realized that Starjammer has gravity rules. So, I mean, weight is kind of an abstract concept then. Oh, I need a drink real quick. I mean, you might have 10 pounds of something on your planet. You go to the next planet that only has 3/4 the gravity, and suddenly it's not 10 pounds anymore. So they use bulk. But I actually managed to bridge the gap between Pathfinder and Starjammer to find out how much gold credits were worth, how much credits gold was worth, and then how much weight in Earth gravity was one bulk. And then, what after you had one bulk, what a light item was, because a light item is only 1/10 of a bulky item. It took a really long time for something surprisingly simple. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, this was all the stuff that they could come across while they were while they were out there. And as you can see, androids, humans, Kasathas, Lashuntas, Shirans, Vesk, Yosoki, these are all Starjammer races. NG, Rockman, Mantis, Zoltan, Slug, these are all FTL races that they could come across. Same thing with pirates, same thing with drones, because there's no drone rules in Starjammer. I just made a ship with no crew. Seemed the easiest thing to do. Computer runs everything. And so when you put everything together, there were space stations. You could have hostile space stations that would just shoot on sight. So, not going to do anything there. Shipyards where you could buy parts for your ships. Research stations that would sell you equipment that was one level above what you could normally buy. Trade shops. Trade shops were my favorite because it was a normal shop, but you couldn't spend credits there. You had to trade. So you had to go through your inventory and say, I have this. Maybe I picked up an extra rifle off of a raider. What can I get for one rifle? And it worked out really well because my players would sit there and they would really think hard and say, we've got the date, or we've got the equipment list. We know how much this rifle is worth. Yeah, kind of like Mud's Market, except, you know, there's literally no currency. But they would sit there and say, I've got this extra rifle. I don't know how much they're going to pay me for it, because standard rule of thumb in most tabletop games, and in fact in most games in general, is you can sell an item for half of what it's worth. But that's boring. My players have appraise skills and diplomacy skills, and I made them use it. It was my players' appraise skill versus the shopkeep's appraise skill. And then it was my players' diplomacy versus the shopkeep's diplomacy. And then, if the player thought that the shopkeep was trying to rip them off, it could even go up to a sense motive versus a bluff, which can also go the other way around. I made negotiation very serious, and they tried to squeeze out every single credit they could out of every piece of salvage they turned in. JP says, make a Star Trek Online campaign. I'll write it down, because that sounds fun. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. Maybe not the Star Trek Online campaign, but doing a Starjammer game set in the Star Trek universe? I'd do that. I would like to do that. That would be cool. It would require a little bit of reflavoring things, but I think it could just be reflavored. Like, instead of missiles, I don't know what missiles would become, because there are actually torpedoes. I don't know. I'd have to work on it, but I like the idea. I will write that down. Yes, JP, you're already on the list. I promise you are on the tabletop list. You're on the list. Tux is on the list. Jeffrey, you're not on the list. If you want to be on the list, though. There are a lot of factors that go into that. However, most of them are minor factors that can be largely written off. By going through and doing the back and forth of appraisal and diplomacy and maybe even bluffing, you're covering all of those little details. Instead of sitting and arguing that this piece of armor has been through 17 combats. So how much is that going to knock it down? Just have them appraise and then diplomacy. And what I did is I kept track of the difference and which way that difference went. So my players appraise. And my players, of course, want the better deal. So when they appraise, the price goes up by that percentage. When the other side appraises, it goes down by that percentage. Then, when we go to diplomacy, it's direct diplomacy back and forth. Whoever wins gets to shift the price that much more in their direction. And so now we have a completely unique agreement on how much we're selling this piece of armor or weapon or whatever for. It takes a little bit more time, but it's a good role-playing opportunity. And sometimes it even ends up with the players getting a massive bonus on something that was really worthless. If you have a character with really great diplomacy or really great appraisal, then you can get a lot of money. And Jeffrey, you're not on the list because I didn't remember if you wanted to be on the list. Do you want to be on the list? I can put you on the list. That's up to you. I'll add you to the list. Hi, Flame. Yes, we're talking tabletop gaming today. I'm completely nerding out over all of my D&D stuff. Well, in this case, Pathfinder and Starjammer. So, yes, this is all tabletop gaming stuff. So, yeah, trade stations were just phenomenal. I love the trade stations. My players loved the trade stations. They were great. And then, of course, there was supply depots, which were just regular shops, and they were boring. And Flame, we're talking about the list of people who want to be in the tabletop games. You're in it. I have a list. I need 4 people to be on the list before I can even start this. I didn't say I was going to make a Star Trek campaign. I said I want to. However, when the time comes, I have to make a game that everyone wants to play, otherwise no one's going to care about it. So it's going to have to come down to, we all have to be adults and we all have to agree on the same campaign. Now, if everybody agrees on Star Trek, then we'll do it. But if, like half of the people want to play Starjammer... No, as in players. I need players to run a campaign. I have a list of potential players. And I mean, it's going to be difficult. But like they say, nothing worthwhile is ever easy. Okay, Tux. You don't know that much about Star Trek. It's really simple. They fly starships around space. They explore things that are unexplored. They boldly go where no man has gone before. And whatever they find there, they shoot it with lasers. There's Star Trek. It's super simple. Okay. So, plot events, this is the old version of what I was using to keep track of things. This was the better version. Here's all of my FTL add-ons. So this is essentially a bad version of my FTL module. But I took and I said, here's what we're going to do. First thing I needed was races. So humans, just use humans. It was not complicated. For NG, I had to go back to Starjammer's races, use the androids, and force them to use the nanite integration racial trait. Which if we go back to it... I'm still in roll 20. Hold on. Okay, so if we come back to androids, here's the sheet on androids. We all know what an android is, so we don't need to recover that. However, racial traits, here we go. Alternate racial traits. Easily augmented, impersonation matrix, infosphere integration, multilingual. Here we go. Nanite upgrade. Let's see. Except I don't think... Didn't we want nanite integration? Let me double check this. Nanite integration. I did say nanite integration. Maybe it's in the wrong place. Let's search. Let's see. Physical description. Yes. Nanite upgrade. Wait, okay, here we see. Oh, okay, it's part. Nanite upgrade. Specialized nanites maintain an android body, but they can be upgraded to perform additional tasks. Androids who have this racial trait gain the nanite integration, see below, as a bonus, ignoring the feat's prerequisites. Okay, so it says see below, but it's not actually in there. Okay, hold on. Let's see. No. We want Starjammer SRD and nanite integration. Here we go. Nanite integration. Okay. So, prerequisites, we're ignoring those because of this. Rebooting nanites, so you get that. Repairing nanites or surging nanites. So there we go. So the androids get nanite integration. Then we've got mantises, so we use the Formian, but they get additional telepathy. Or no, I forget, we take away telepathy. Rockmen are kind of custom. They just get a +4 constitution, -2 dexterity. They're immune to fire, but they only have half a movement speed. Zoltans, we get to use the Sylph. They give +10 PCU power to whatever room they happen to be in, and they explode when they die. Slugs, we use the Osharu. They get -scientist, -polymath, but they get additional telepathy. Crystals, we get to use those, and that's the general idea. So, there we got our custom races. Then, I went through and I said all the different things in FTL, all the different modules that you could get. How do we integrate those? So I made custom expansion bays for the starships. Because every starship, when you make it, if we come down here to starships, every starship has size, maneuverability, all that, but they have these expansion bays. And expansion bays are up here. And they're all these things. You can get laboratories, a brig, cargo holds, lifeboats, launch tubes, hangars, labs, everything. So I made custom expansion bays. An automated reloader gives you 1 free attack after every 10 attacks. Explosive replicators gives you, just like in FTL, a 50% chance to save a missile. So, tracking weapons, which are missile launchers in FTL, in Starjammer, have a limited number of rounds they have. Usually 5. Some of them are different. But you only get 5 shots per combat. With the explosive replicator, fire your missile, flip a coin. And we don't have a Borg race yet. I will make a Borg. I promise. If we do Star Trek, I will make a Borg. I'll probably have to make a lot of custom races depending on what everyone's playing, but we'll see. Defense Scrambler just increases your target lock AC. Shield Recharger gives you 15% extra shields, just like in FTL. The Reverse Ion Field, 50% chance to ignore EMPs. So, again, in Starjammer, EMP weapons. So, it doesn't do damage. However, on a hit, an EMP weapon scrambles 1 target systems determined randomly. This causes the system to act as if it had the glitching condition for 1d4 rounds. If it was already glitching, it becomes... what is it? Basically, there's 3 steps until it's useless. It just goes up a step. So if you were to get the reverse ion field, then if you get hit by an EMP weapon, flip a coin. The repair arm just automatically repairs your ship as long as you've got scrap to feed it. And yeah, on and on and on. So all of these were modules that you could install into expansion bays. I thought it was rather clever. Let's see. Current game. Oh, right. This was just for whatever game I happened to be running at the time, so this was not required. This was just the stuff for the end boss that we never got to because they all died of radiation poisoning. It was tragic, but they deserved it. Right. Remember how I said there's no salvage rules? I wrote my own salvage rules. I told you I would. So, if you wanted to salvage parts from a ship, you needed the required tools, which was usually some kind of cutting tool or something like that. Yeah, a salvage tool, either a laser drill or a similar device, and you needed to have an EVA suit or armor with that same capability. So, first things first, you had to bring your ship in close enough to salvage. That required a piloting check. There's nothing you get for critical success. However, a critical failure, you ram the ship. And it does 1d6 hull damage plus another d6 for every size category above yours to both of the ships. And that's important because in Starjammer, your ship has a certain number of hit points, but when you hit 0, your ship doesn't blow up. When you hit 0, your ship just stops functioning, except for life support. And that means that you can continue hitting the other ship, or they can continue hitting yours, until your ship actually does explode. Once it reaches a negative HP equal to your max HP. So if you hit the other ship, it does damage to both ships. Once you've done that, then you have to jump from your ship to the other ship. Now that, if you critically succeed, there's no extra bonus. If you critically fail, however, there's a chance that you risk missing the other ship you jumped for. You do get a reflex save. And you can rearrange yourself and try to head back. However, once you do that, then you have to make the acrobatics check again to get there. If you fail the second time, your character goes floating off into the abyss, and it's just gone. Then, once you actually do try to start salvaging stuff, you can salvage. Basically, you can cut the ship to pieces and get 1 ton of salvage that you can sell later on. If you actually try to remove pieces, though, that gets into something different. And if you critically fail while you're trying to salvage the ship, one of these things can happen. You can glitch the life support, which will repair 1 critically damaged system on the ship. That means that the ship could come back to life while you're on the outside of it. If you glitch the sensors, it'll send a distress signal. And then you have company coming back to see you. If you glitch the weapons, it will fire a random weapon in a random direction. If it's not in your direction, you're fine. If it is in your direction, your own ship might get blasted while it's sitting right next to it. If it's an engine glitch, the engines fire at full speed for 1d10 rounds. And you either hold on or, I don't know, get blown backwards. Either way, it's not good. Or if you glitch the power core, it initiates self-destruct in 1d10 rounds. And the players have no idea how many rounds it is. Salvage work can be dangerous. Then you have to cross back again with the salvage. However, I did, because they thought of this, if you use a cable to like reduce the to reduce the chance of failing, you know, just in case you fail, that's available. Salvage is valued at 500 credits per ton, subject to later adjustment. And then, that's just for salvage. That's just for random scrap. If you actually want the subsystems, then there's these rules. Salvaging a functioning starship weapon, expansion bay, engine, shield, or any other system is possible but dangerous. Salvaging a functioning module requires the following checks be made. The DC for each check is 20, plus the module's build points. Because if we come back to the Starjammer page, just looking at the weapons, every weapon has a name, it has a range here, it has damage, then it has the power core units. This is the power you need to drive it, plus the cost in build points. Now, build points are your limiting factor when you build your ship. You're limited in build points, and those are determined by your level, or rather, your party's average level. So, in this case, to salvage this grazer, it's 20 plus the build points. That is a DC of 55. You're probably not salvaging a grazer. However, if we wanted to come up here and salvage, say, a coil gun, that's 20 plus 6. A DC 26 is hard. But if you're a mechanic, and I mean, I hope that it's the mechanic who's out there doing the work, that might not be that impossible. Now, when doing this, you have to make the checks several times. You have to access the system from the starship's exterior, disconnect it from the starship system, disconnect it from the frame, and then extract it. And if you fail by 5 or less, it just means that you wasted 10 minutes but you didn't do any damage. Failure by 5 points or more critically damages the system. And if it's already critically damaged to begin with, you might end up destroying it. Critically damaging a wrecked system destroys it beyond repair. It also says, bear in mind that while you're trying to dismantle the enemy ship, the crew will be trying to repair it. It is possible for an enemy starship to come back online during your salvage operations. Didn't happen, mostly because they went in and killed the crew first. Then, once you've got it, first off, you have to have the BP on your ship to even afford to use it. But you have to install it and connect it in your ship using the same DC. And you can still break the thing and destroy it. Salvage starship modules weigh twice as much, or weigh twice their BP in tons when stored as cargo. Salvage starship modules are valued at their BP times 1,000 credits. And they drop by half as much for each critical damage point applied. So if, like, that coil gun, which had 6 BP, was worth 6,000 credits, but it was already critically damaged, now it's only worth 3,000. But they could probably fix it. And then I had to write my own crafting rules because there's no crafting rules in Starjammer. Like, at all. So I wrote my own. I was very happy with it. But I mean, I had players who had characters that were good at crafting, and they're like, well, why can't we just build a weapon? If we have the materials, why can't we? So I did it. So, weapons, armor, items, starship equipment. It's all in there. I even went through and, where was it? Right here. Special materials for the starship parts. So if you had any of these special materials, then you could use it and it would enhance your ship in some way. So abyssium, adamantium, cold iron, degesit, whatever that is, horohalcum. I don't know why they put an H on the end of it or the front of it, but you know, whatever. Incubrix, knockwool, siccate, void glass. And it all gave stuff. They were cool rules. Most of this will not be usable if we did a Star Trek game. But Star Trek has its own special materials, so I might be able to do something similar if we went there. But again, this all falls under like the category of generators. I don't have to think about any of this stuff. It's already done. So if my players wanted to just build a thing, I can just reference a table and say, here you go. Here's the module. It was all pretty expansive. I mean, still is expansive. This was fun, though. So yeah, that's all of my my Pathfinder and Starjammer stuff. And someday, maybe I'll even get around to doing that Star Trek game, too. It's been like 2.5 hours now. Holy crap. Time flies when you're having fun. All right, well, I guess since that's pretty much all the tabletop stuff I got, was there anything else anybody else want to talk about? That's like the world's longest tangent. What about repairing a ship to sell it or add it to your fleet? Well, it's possible. The rules in Starjammer say that you're only allowed to control a certain number of BP. It's not about how many is in your ship. That's how much you can handle. That's the main limiting factor. So even if you caught another ship, you killed the crew and repaired the ship and got it up in working order again, you couldn't add it to your fleet. It would still be too much for your party to control. Now, that means that you can have a big capital ship. Like, our party had the Asp. And that was an Explorer-class ship. The Explorer-class ship was... Let's see, where is it? Right up here. So it was a medium-sized ship with good maneuverability. It had 55 hit points. It had one gun on all four... Or no, wait. Yes? No. It had one gun forward, port, and starboard, and then it had one turret that it could use to shoot in all directions. Which meant that, you know, with the party of 4 people, they could have one pilot who's flying the ship, and they could have one engineer who's going around and trying to boost systems, and they could have 2 people on guns firing whatever happened to be in that direction, which usually meant one person firing a hard-mounted gun and the other person firing the turret. That's how they played it. However, there was technically nothing stopping them from just having 4 fighters and flying in their own fleet. The only downside is that, you know, if you're in fighters, how do you survive in space? You don't have any crew quarters. You're just sitting in a fighter. So you could have a fleet, but you would have to be really, really high levels. And even then, once you're at the high levels, you're going to have to start using really small ships to stay under that number. Let's see. Tuxedo says, reminds me of Hard Space Shipbreaker and salvaging a reactor. Never heard of it, but I'm interested. I'll have to look that up later, because that could be fun. Okay, well, I think that's about enough for me right now. So, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'll end the stream roughly here. I don't know what we're doing next week, but if there's anything that anyone else wants to discuss, because I think I covered everything tabletop here. I don't know. If people like the tabletop stuff, maybe I could sit down and like try to work out a Star Trek module. Because that could be fun to sit down and do. Might be a little on the boring side. But then again, you've been sitting there looking at spreadsheets and listening to me ramble, so it can't be any more boring than that. I don't know. We'll think about it. Or I can just find another game to play and we can do that kind of thing. So, like I said, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to leave it off here. This has been fun, but I got to get some other stuff done. So, if you're not already subscribed, I'm pretty sure everybody here is already subscribed. Make sure you do that. Don't forget to hit the bell icon just in case it's not done already. If you know somebody else who does, you know, tabletop stuff, because while I discussed Pathfinder and Starjammer today, a lot of this is pretty universal and would help you with anything. Whether it's Shadowrun, Call of Cthulhu, Mutants and Masterminds, anything. This stuff is pretty good. You could use it anywhere. Share this video out. They'll enjoy it. If you know, well, no, actually, I just covered that. So, otherwise, I guess just make sure you leave a like on the stream. Likes help. Somebody else might actually see it. Leave a comment down below. Questions, comments, suggestions for future streams, if you want. Because, like, if you suggest it, I'll do it. It's kind of what I'm here for. Otherwise, I guess I'll just see you next week then. So, until then, take care.